How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? This is Indeed Gaming here. I am, in fact, Mr. Indeed, and welcome to my channel. Please do like, share, and comment on this video, and we're going to get right back into it. Now, it has been a while since I've made a video. It's actually been even more of a while since I've done a Gotham Knights video, but the stuff that I was making videos on before, I just lost interest in it. And now that Gotham Knights is coming out, this is way more my wheelhouse, and that is a good and bad thing. I'm going to do a review of the gameplay and the game as a whole from what we know right now, excluding spoilers, because I have a lot of good things to say. I also have a lot of bad things to say, and this is why I said that it's a good and bad thing, that this is more my wheelhouse, because when you know something, when you watch it or you see it and it's not something that you're used to, you're always more critical of it. At least most people are more critical of it. Not everyone, but some people are. I'm definitely one of those people who is more critical. This video may sound very negative. I want everyone to know that is not exactly how I feel about the game. Honestly, later on today, I'm going to go and pre-order the most expensive version of this game because I'm ignorant. I'm really looking forward to this game. I really want to. I want to be able to sink hundreds of hours into it, and I hope content continues to come for this game, even though I know it's not a live service game. Now, let me get into some of the things that I like, and then I will try to get into some of the things that I dislike, and then some of the things that I really don't like. Some of the things that I like. First off, I think the game looks amazing, like graphic-wise. I know a lot of people didn't really like the graphics before, or a lot of people were saying they don't like the graphics. I don't really think it was that people didn't like the graphics. I think it was that people didn't like the art style. Personally, I like the art style. I think that they could have done better with some of the character designs, and I'll get into that later. But I think that the graphics in the city itself look amazing. I think all these things look amazing. Like, I feel like the city looks, I don't know, I'm trying to think of how to say, I don't know, maybe it feels like it looks more believable as a city to me. I don't know, just from what I've seen, I should say. But I love the city. I think I'm gonna really like the mission structure of this game. I mean, I know a lot of people can, they come after games where it's like, oh, your mission is go here, beat up this, grab this thing, protect this area, beat up these people. It's like, I'm sorry guys, that's just what video games are. I can't name one game that's not like that. At least an open world violent game. So I like it. I think I'm gonna really like the mission structure for this game. It looks like they're doing their best to have there be a lot to do in the city, which is one of the things in my older videos that I was really advocating for, because when you're dealing with a city like Gotham, and you're dealing with 4 characters, the Gotham Knights, the main Gotham, Bat family characters, there's a lot that you can do. Not only is there a lot that you can do, there's a lot that you should do if you want your game to be able to stay alive. And it looks like that's where they're going with this. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen any indication that maybe every once in a while, like I said in one of my older videos that honestly nobody watched, but like I said in one of my older videos, that, you know, every once in a while maybe you'll run into a actual named villain out in the world. I'm really hoping that's something that we get. I know that I did hear one of the devs say that there is an end game for this game. I'm hoping that is a part of the end game, because it's like I said, Gotham, Batman, the Rogues Gallery is crazy. I mean, you could easily be, you know, going through the city, you know, swinging around as Red Hood, and then all of a sudden your line gets shot by Deadshot, and now you're in a fight with Deadshot. Or, you know, you're investigating a crime, Deathstroke's in the city trying to assassinate some politician or something like that, and now you gotta go find Deathstroke and fight him. There's a lot of different things that could happen. You know, you're out there in the city, fireflies burning down a district or something like that. Like, having those more open world situations happen with actual named villains, so it's not like, you're going around as a comic book character in this comic book city that has a million different villains that are named, but you're only fighting a whole bunch of nobodies the entire time. So that's just something that I think it looks like they're trying to lean into. I'm hoping that is the case. I love the setting. I love the way the day-night setting goes. Like, during the daytime, you're in the Belfry, you're gathering information, you're putting stuff together, and then at nighttime, that's when you go out, because that's kind of how Batman actually does it. Like, in daytime, because he don't sleep. In daytime, he's, putting things together, he's setting things up. Nighttime is when he goes out and he actually deals with those things physically. And I think that that's a great aspect of the game. Also, I'm hoping that we get a little bit more, and it looks like they're leaning towards this, and it's even been mentioned that the most tension seems to be between Nightwing and Red Hood, which makes sense because that would be more their dynamic. They're both the, I don't want to say, well, obviously, at first it was Dick, then it was Barbara, but Jason is, at least I'm pretty sure that's what the order it went in. Yeah, that's the order it went in. But Jason and Dick have always kind of had this headbutting relationship, kind of like, was it Leonardo? Leonardo and Raphael? Yeah, he's Leonardo. That's kind of how their relationship has always been, which is kind of funny because Leonardo and Raphael is blue and red, and Nightwing and Red Hood are blue and red. But anyway, so I'm glad that they kept that dynamic. I think that they may have tamed Jason a bit more than maybe he should be, just because I think there's a lot of interesting things that they could have played into with his relationship with the Bat family. And we all saw the clip where Dick is like, I shouldn't have treated you like an outsider. And this is something that Dick kind of, not only Dick, but the entire Bat family kind of does in the comics as well. They do kind of treat Jason like he's an outsider. It's always something that's actually kind of bothered me, because it's almost like a lot of times they treat Jason like he's not really part of the Bat family, or like he's an afterthought. And I've never been a fan of that personally. But anyway, I'm glad they kept that dynamic. It looks like they've done the story and the character dynamics very well. Typically, I believe that Jason and Tim also have a very good relationship, so I'm wondering how they're going to play into that. I've seen a few different interactions with them that seem pretty good. I think that it looks like they've really kept at least the characters' relationships and their personalities with each other, at least, pretty comic book, pretty accurate. Now I can get into some of the things that kind of bother me about the game, and this is mainly going to be about Jason, if I'm being honest. To be clear, Jason is my favorite member of the Bat family. He's also arguably my favorite DC character, and also, to be even fair, I don't think the comics have done him well in the last 2 or 3 years either. But I think this game, they really undersell who Jason is and what Jason is, I should say. And again, the comics have done this as well. In this game, Jason is huge. He's my size. For context, I'm 6'5", 280 pounds, and I'm not fat. Jason's my size in this game. That is not who Jason is. Jason isn't a small human, but he's not a very big one. I think typically Jason's about 6 foot. Nightwing's about 5'11". Batman is 6'1" or 6'2", I believe. There are some iterations of Jason that are 225 pounds. That's the heaviest version I think he's ever been. It's but then a lot of times he's 185. And for context, somebody who's 6 foot, 225 pounds, they're not as big as Jason is. Like Jason is huge, and they not even just like visually did they make him huge. They made him like a brute character, and Jason's not a brute. For context, Jason has been trained by the League of Assassins. He's been trained by Batman. He's been trained by Lady Shiva, who's typically considered the number one martial artist in the DC universe. And he's also been trained by some mystical assassin group that I keep on forgetting to go and find out what in the world they're called. But he got flaming swords from them. I know that happened. But either way, my point is that Jason is always trained by assassins. He's only been trained by assassin, shinobi type characters. So how he would turn into this big, brutish type character who seems to have no finesse to them, I don't really get it. I don't know. Like, it's almost like, to me anyway, when it comes to their characterization of Jason in the game, like physically and how he fights, it's almost like they just heard that Jason was the hothead that used his gun in the Bat family, and they just ran with that. They just went with, excuse me, they just went with what they felt like that would look like in this context. They didn't really look into who Jason was, what Jason's really been through besides the fact that Joker killed him. They just was like, yeah, he's the hothead that uses guns. So we're going to make him the big brute character. I don't really like that. I think that they could have done more with his character and really leaned into who he is as a character, because who he is as a character, what he knows as a character, has actually been downplayed. Again, not to fault this game too much. It's been downplayed pretty significantly, even in the comics. Jason has actually got more outside of Batman training than anyone in the Bat family. Excuse me. Dick's only been trained by Batman, like officially. Barbara's only been trained by Batman, and not only that, Barbara was out of commission for at least 2 to 3 years. I don't know the exact time frame, if I'm being honest. I'm not comic explained. I'm sure he would know. But I was like, she was out of commission for a while. And then Tim has only really been trained by Batman. It was like, these are all characters that have only been trained by Batman. Jason has been trained by Batman and the number one martial artist in DC Universe and the League of Assassins. And it's like, you don't really see that in his character in this game, but you also don't see it in the comics. Again, to be fair, like, the comics really treat him like he's they kind of make him seem like he's just a hothead who just makes bad decisions. He's mediocre in physical combat, or CQC, whatever you want to call it, and that's just not who Jason is. So I don't really feel like we're getting a great representation of what Jason is actually capable of in this game. Dick Grayson, I think they did him well. I think he went well. I think Dick Grayson was done well. I'm curious to see how much more they're going to lean into his leadership role, because if I'm being honest, in the interactions that I've seen with Dick recently, or like in the game, I don't really see him being a leader. Like, he's not really stepping forward and, trying to fill that role. And to be fair, we've only really seen early gameplay and early story mode stuff. So maybe he, gradually goes into this. Obviously, Batman just died, so he's kind of being forced into this. So I don't want to judge that too harshly right now, because like I said, it just started out. It's early in the game. Maybe we're going to see him get into that later, once we actually have our hands on the game. But I think that personality-wise, they've done him well. Kind of funny, kind of makes jokes here and there. Always trying to be the mediator when it comes to people like Jason and stuff like that. But you can see that he's willing to step up and get in front of Jason and try to stop him when other people in the Bat family really aren't. Like, Barbara just kind of stood there when Jason was about to go rogue. Tim was just kind of like, come on guys, don't fight. But Dick was the one who was willing to step in front of him and be like, hey, we're not doing that. And that's fair for Dick, honestly. Barbara, I think they did well. I'm not going to say that I don't know a whole lot about Barbara, because I know a decent amount about Barbara. But when it comes to these last two characters, Barbara and Tim, I mean, I know about them, but I don't know as much. I don't pay attention to these characters as much. From what I can tell, they have done Barbara well from what I know about her. But then again, Barbara, it looks like they're definitely going to lean into her trauma with Joker, and how she was, she's just recently getting out of the wheelchair. You even saw the scene where they were lifting weights, and she was doing, I believe, deadlifts, and she kind of stands up and holds her back, and both Jason and Dick like look at each other and look at her like worried. So it looks like that's going to be a kind of ongoing thing in her story, probably something that you're going to unravel more and more if you play with her character specifically. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. I do think it's going to be a little weird having them deal with this situation, like both with Jason and Barbara. I think it's going to be a little weird having them deal with it. Not weird, but a missed opportunity, I should say, for them to have to deal with that trauma and never run into the Joker. Not that I'm saying the Joker should be like a main villain or something like that, but have them kind of confront Joker without Batman there to guide them, or in Jason's case, to stop them, and see how they deal with that, and maybe actually be able to get one-on-one closure with that situation. Because typically they always have Batman as a fallback, and in a situation like this where Batman is dead, they wouldn't have that. So it will be an opportunity for them to kind of deal with that on their own. But that's how I feel about Barbara. When it comes to Tim, again, I don't know a whole lot about Tim. I know he is typically considered the best detective. I know his combat skills are not top level as far as the Bat family goes. He's no slouch or anything, but he's no Jason, Dick, or Barbara from what I know. Not even a Damian Wayne. Even though Damian Wayne, for whatever reason, is typically shown to be able to beat almost everyone in the Bat family because reasons. But Tim is, it looks like they have him in that role. He's a tech guy. He's the one who's always, like, even in the scene where he's talking about, I looked into this, are you sure you sent me all the files? It's like, he's going to be the one who's a detective. I would imagine he's going to be the one that's going to really... He's going to be the one that really figures out everything with the Court of Owls. He's going to be the one that he's like, I've been looking at this map, and I've been looking at these things, and I put these things together. We need to deal with this. We need to be over here. They're over this way. I think that's the role that they've been setting him up for, and I can see that in the small interactions that we've had, that he's the one who's really looking into stuff. And that's perfect for his character, because that's who he is. And I'm expecting, like I said, him to be, even though I would say out of everyone, the four in the Bat family, he's the one that probably has the least notoriety. Well, four that are in this game, I should say. He's the one that has the least notoriety. I actually feel like he's going to be the one who's the most pivotal in this story. So that's how I feel about all the characters. I think that they've done most of them pretty well. I think Jason, again, unfortunately for myself, was kind of a missed opportunity on certain things, certain stuff about his abilities and what he's capable of. But hey, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I should say. Now, when it comes to the things that I'm really not a fan of with this game, at least from what I've seen so far, and it's going to be the thing that everybody thinks it is, it's the combat. And it's not that the combat looks terrible. Like, I think it looks good for most characters. I think, again, Jason, and I'm trying to temper how much of this is just my own bias, but I think with Jason, they really dropped the ball again. Like, does Jason use guns? Yes. It's like, but Jason is also a very agile character. He's a very capable character. His martial art abilities are pretty high. I mean, even in the comics when he fought Cassandra Cain, Orphan, Dick Grayson fought her and lost, which I thought was a little weird because I feel like could she maybe beat him? Maybe. It was like, but I felt like he just lost very easily. And then when Jason fought her, Jason would have been able to kill her if Dick didn't jump in. So he's a very capable character just with his hands, with his combat skills, and I feel like they made him very slow. It looks like all he really does is pistol whip people, and then he's a grappler. It's like he's a grappler, but has two guns in his hands. I feel like they went a weird direction with Jason in this game as far as combat goes. I think Tim, they actually did a really good job. His combat is really good. Nightwing, I think they did well. I would like to see him. Well, no, because I think I have seen that he does have like some combos where he can like really start picking people apart, and that's kind of what I want to see from him. And then Barbara, I think they did great as well as far as the combat goes. But as far as what the combat is on its own, I think that's really where they messed up. And the obvious thing is just because there's no counter system. And when I say the issue is that there's no counter system, I'm not trying to liken the game to Arkham, because I know a lot of people pretend like Arkham is the only game that's ever had a counter system. It's not even the first one to have one. But I think they really mess up when they don't put a counter system in a game like this, narrative wise, when it comes to these characters, because again, even though their skill sets may vary, every single character here is a master martial artist in their own right. For them to have no defensive options besides dodging is weird. Not only is that weird, pacing wise for combat, it really kind of messes things up because it takes you out of combat over and over and over again. One of the things about a counter system in a game like this is that it keeps you in the fight. You counter somebody and you go directly into your chain. It was like, but with the dodging, it's like you have to dodge out of the combat and reset. So every time you're dodging out, you're resetting and resetting and resetting and resetting every time somebody tries to hit you. And I think that's bad for the pacing of the combat. In a perfect world, it would already be in a game. In an ideal world, they would add it into the game later on in a patch or a DLC or something like that. Realistically, they probably won't do it, unfortunately. I mean, honestly, I would hope that maybe we could put a petition together and get them to add it into the game, because I'm sure they thought about it. And the issue is that I feel like they purposely didn't put it in the game because they didn't want to be they wanted to be compared to Arkham as least as possible. I don't think that was the right move, and not because I think they should be compared to Arkham or blah blah blah, just because for the game itself, I think it really messes up the pacing of the game, or the pacing of the combat of the game, I should say. I could probably go for a lot longer on that, but this video's already been pretty long. I'll go with the last thing, and the last thing that I would say is pretty big negative for me right now, even though I haven't seen everyone's skill trees, is that it looks like the skill trees are really just buffs, and I don't like that. Like, you can get, as you can see, like you go to the knighthood thing, you can get different like special moves to do that you get from that you can do from momentum, but as far as their actual skill trees, it doesn't look like their skill trees are actually unlocking new abilities or new things for your character to do. They're just buffing the things that your character can already do, which I don't really think is a good move for these types of games. Like, I feel like when you have a skill tree in an open world RPG-esque game, you want skill trees to not only buff your characters, but you want them to also change things that your character does. So maybe there's a version of Red Hood where he's not really a grappler, but he's beating people down more. Maybe he punches or something. Like he drops his, well, not drops his gun, but holsters his guns, puts away his weapons, and starts beating on people, kicking people, doing roundhouses and such, making him more of a combat oriented character. But then there's other skill trees where it's way more focused on his guns and his shooting, and his quick fire, and his downside aim, and obviously his grappling. It was like, but it changes the way that your character visually fights and physically fights. I don't really feel like their skill trees, from what I have seen, do that. Like, I've seen Nightwings, I've seen Red Hoods. Almost everything on their skill tree is just, oh, it helps you gain momentum for this. Oh, you get extra defense when you do this. Oh, this will do more damage, or you have more crit chance when you do this. I don't think that's what they should have done. I don't know why. Honestly, I'm not really sure why they did that. It's not what I would have done. Is that going to ruin the game? I don't really think so. I guess at the end of the day, it's going to depend on their combat system. I mean, not their combat system, their in-game system. But at the same time, combat is very important to these types of games. And if you play through an entire video game where your character, by the end of it, for the most part, moves the same, the combat will get boring to you very quickly. And there was already people who actually got to play the game and preview it and play it for a while. People were already saying, this got boring kind of quick. That's not good. And one of the reasons I think it may have gotten boring kind of quick was, one, because there's no counter system, so they were constantly having to get out of combat and then get back into it. So the combat seems a little bit slower. And then two, they didn't have access to their skill tree, obviously, but even once they have access to their skill tree, is that access to the skill tree going to change something? Or is it just going to be like, oh, I can get to my special move quicker now because this thing that I do, makes my momentum go up faster? I don't really know how well that's going to go, but we will see. It's not the model that I would have used for an open world game or open world RPG game. Obviously, I'm not a game dev. Maybe, hopefully, they know better than I do. We don't know what the end game is. We don't know what is going to come with that. I'm hoping a huge rogues gallery with a lot of open world events and stuff like that, but we will see. But either way, I know a lot of my video was kind of negative, but I do, again, want to point out, I'm 100% getting this game. To be fair, that's partly just because the Red Hood's in it, and I can play with him through the entire thing, and it's an open world Gotham game. But I am excited for this game. The only game right now that I'm more excited for that's coming out, even arguably, is God of War Ragnarok, and that's just because I really enjoy the story. But as far as my wheelhouse of gameplay or of characters, I'm more excited for this game. There's actually, I'm not even sure if I would say I'm more excited for God of War Ragnarok. Like, I really want this game to be good, because once I beat Ragnarok, it's like, okay, I beat it, now I'm done. But I want to be able to keep coming back to this game. Obviously, it's not a live service game, so how much I'll be able to do that will vary, but we'll see. But I think that's all I have. This video went way longer than I wanted it to, and I rambled a bit, and I apologize for that. I do plan on doing a whole lot more videos on this game, especially when it comes out. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one. Indeed.